Denise, are you ready? Okay. You ready, David?
Yep.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. If we could have a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Madam Secretary, could we have the roll call, please?
Jamie Girardi.
He's
Don
absent.
Anderson. Peter Ginsel.
Here.
Roberto Size. Christopher Poole.
Here.
Chris Williams.
Here.
Chairman Charles Gray.
Here. And proof of publication, please.
Items were advertised in the Tampa Bay Times on April 20th, 2022.
All right, do we have any minutes? Okay. All right, well then I'd like to welcome everybody today. We're the Planning Commission. We are appointed by the County Commissioners and we meet twice a month. We serve as the local planning agency and we hold public hearings, transmit to the Board of County Commissioners our recommendations on comprehensive plan amendments, land development code amendments, rezonings and conditional use requests. Planning Commission is the final decision-making body for special exceptions, certain appeals, variance requests, and certain alternative standard requests. However, the final decisions may be appealed to the Board of County Commissioners. If anyone is in opposition to any rezoning or development code amendment or conditional use or any item of the Planning Commission that makes a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, it's important for you to attend the appropriate Board of County Commission meeting. For those of you not familiar with the format, it is as follows. We have 3 sections, continuances, and that's where the staff or the applicant has asked for a continuance for any number of reasons. It's been our custom to approve those requests unless there are extenuating circumstances. We have consent, and those are items where we have not received any objections from the staff or the public. We'll go through those one at a time. If there's anything that we read that you want to have pulled from consent and heard today, that you have questions about, raise your hand. We'll pull it from consent, and it'll go on to the regular items, which is the third item group, and those are things that will be heard today for open discussion. Applicants will have 3 minutes to make their presentations, and the questioners will have 3 minutes to ask their questions, and then the applicant will have an opportunity to come back up and respond to your questions. Typically, we give the applicant 5 minutes to respond, and unless there's been a written request for additional time, which I don't believe there has been. Am I correct, Denise? Yep.
Correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So, for those of you who have cell phones on your person, this is a great time to put them in silent mode so you won't interrupt anybody. And before we start our meeting, is there anybody that's here to speak on any item that's not on the agenda today? Public comment. That's not something that's not on the agenda. Okay? Want to come forward? State your name and address.
Christy Zimmer, 3615 Pinecone Court, Land O'Lakes, Florida. I actually came for an item that is on the agenda, but it's been continued. Is there a way that you can notify the public of these continuances? Maybe if the public signs up for an email notification?
We can't, let me just go ahead and answer that. We can't really notify you if there's a continuance because it has to be voted on. And we can't vote on it until it's presented to us. So it's not something that we know ahead of time. And
well, they knew about this 2 days ago, and an email would have saved
no, they
those
didn't,
of us from Land O'Lakes driving over here for 45 minutes.
We're not voting on any continuances until today. So there's no way they could know about it.
Well, that's what I was just told
Yeah.
by,
It's
people.
requested for a continuance, but it doesn't mean it's going to be granted.
so is it being continued or
Well,
not?
when we vote, we'll know. That's what I'm telling you. We won't know ahead of time. So, and if you choose to speak on the item, then you can't speak on it when it comes before us the next time.
So I will tell you, just to add to what the chairman said, if the applicant and staff know soon enough, they can note it as a continuance on the agenda, but that doesn't always happen. Sometimes continuances come in as late as the day of the hearing. Sometimes at the hearing, the applicant asks for a continuance. So there's no way that anybody could ever know for certainty whether something's going to be continued or not. That being said, if we know far enough in advance they can put continuance on the item, is that what occurred on this one, or no?
Nothing's
No.
on your, there's nothing about it being continued on the agenda.
Right, so
If-
that's because the request for the continuance probably came after the agenda was published. Is
That's
that-
accurate. So if I may, the agenda was published on Friday, and the continuance came in very, very late Monday evening. Probably we saw it maybe Tuesday morning.
So,
But it would have saved a group of us from driving an hour here and an hour back from not being able to be in attendance for the hearing.
well, as the chairman said, we don't necessarily have to grant the continuance. I mean, that's up to the planning commission as to whether we grant the continuance or not. And if it wasn't put on the agenda as a continuance, you could speak to it today if you really want to. Now, you won't get to speak again when it comes back,
And why is that?
because you get one chance to speak on an item. Otherwise, you get 3 minutes to speak. Otherwise, you'd be getting effectively 6 minutes. If you speak today and again, when it comes, now, if you want extra time to speak, you can make the request to the chairman for extra time, but if you got to speak today and in the future, you're effectively doubling your time to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And then also, just understand that if we tell you it's up for continuance and you don't come, and then it isn't continued, then that's going to be a problem. So unfortunately, there's no way around it.
So do I need to take my name off the list for speaking on that item for today, so that when it really does come back?
No, you just don't come up when the time comes up. Okay, thank you. All right. Is there anybody else? Okay. If not, then I think we can start on the regular agenda.
Mr. Chair, Planning Commission members, Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. Item PC1 is PDD 227565. It's for Faircloth MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development, Faircloth Parker LLC, and others. This item was advertised as a continuance, so the applicant is requesting a continuance to the May 19th Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey on this item.
Okay. Is there anybody here to speak on this one? If not, do I hear a motion to continue?
Also, to clarify, there is no one on WebEx signed up on WebEx for this item either.
All right, Denise, thank you.
So moved.
So we have a motion to continue. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right, motion carries.
PC2 is PDD 227592. It's a zoning amendment in the name of Hillcrest MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development, MMLJ Holdings LLC, and Christina H. DiLorenzo. This also is an item that was advertised for continuance, so the continuance request is to the May 19th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
All right, is there anybody here to speak on that item? Okay, do I hear a motion to continue?
And also, for clarification, I have no one on WebEx signed up to speak on the item either.
I'll
Okay.
move to continue it.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion of that motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Okay,
Following item is PC3. It's PDD 227574. This is a zoning amendment. Hale Collier MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development. Julia Herndon, Walter and Elizabeth Franzel, the Franzel Family Revocable Trust. It's for a rezoning request from AR Agricultural Residential and R1 Rural Density Residential Districts to an MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development District, to allow for a maximum of 119 single-family detached dwelling units and associated infrastructure on approximately 46.1 acres. The applicant has requested a continuance to the June 2nd, 2022 Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
Okay, so this was on consent with the request.
That is
of
correct.
continuance, okay. All right, so is anybody here to speak on this one? If not, then you'd like to speak? Are you the applicant?
No.
Oh, okay.
You asked if you were here to speak.
Yeah.
I just assumed wait for the next meeting.
Okay,
That's what's going to be.
yes, sir, okay. So, let's have a motion.
Move to continue to June 2nd. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion?
And for clarification, I don't have anyone signed up on WebEx on the matter. There was someone who had asked to sign up, but he's been told that there was going to be a continuance request. We did tell him to please attend on WebEx, but he is not on WebEx.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion of the motion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, that motion's continued.
Following item is PC4 PDD 227616 in the name of Bushnell DD LLC. This is for a change in zoning from an AR Agricultural Residential District to a C2 General Commercial District. This comes to you with a recommendation of approval.
All right. And that is on consent. Okay, is there anybody here to speak on that one? Okay, are you the applicant? Okay. So it's on consent, so we'll pull it from consent then? Okay.
So the item will be pulled from consent in order for you to speak. So we'll go through the consent agenda, and then you can speak on the item towards the end. Thank you. Following item is PC5, zoning amendment in the name of Bay Area Merchandising LLC, PDD 227619. It's for a change in zoning from a C1 Neighborhood Commercial District to an R4 High Density Residential District. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval.
Okay. So is there anyone here to speak on this one? Is the applicant present?
Well, that's me, I'm the owner, but I don't have anything to say.
Okay, you don't have to speak, it's fine. It's on consent. Okay,
And I have no one on WebEx on the matter.
okay. So we'll go to 5.
PC6. PC6 is PDD 227617. It's a zoning amendment in the name of Eric Dominich. It's for a change in zoning from an AR Agricultural Residential District and an R1MH Single Family Mobile Home District to an RMH Mobile Home District. It comes to you with a recommendation of approval.
All right. Is there anyone here to speak on this one? Are you the applicant? Okay, is the applicant present?
The applicant is virtually present.
Okay, the applicant, okay. So we'll pull that one from consent.
Okay. Move on to PC7. PC7 is PDD 22CU18. It's for a land excavation operating permit and conditional use amendment request for Scitex and R Holdings LLC. It's for an operating permit and conditional use for land excavation in an MPUD Master Plan Unit Development District, and this comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions.
Okay. And this is on consent? Is there
It's on
anybody-
consent.
Anybody on WebEx?
The applicant is on WebEx, but I have no one in opposition on
Okay.
WebEx.
Is there anybody in the audience in opposition? See no one? All right, so that remains on consent.
I just had a question on that one, Mr. Chair.
You want to pull it?
Sure.
Pull it,
Pull it.
okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
so that keeps PC5 on the consent.
all right, so do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as modified?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as modified, keeping PC5.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. I'm sorry.
Do you want me to swear any of the speakers?
Yes. Anybody that does plan to come up and give testimony today, if you could please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God?
Okay.
Good afternoon, Liam Devine, Planning and Development, PC4 PDD 22-7616, in the name of Bushnell DD LLC. It is zoning amendment from AR Agricultural Residential District to C2 General Commercial District. The subject site is located on the south side of County Line Road, approximately 1,000 feet west of Suncoast Parkway Boulevard. Thank you. This is a look at the aerial view of the property. The surrounding future land use is Res 1 to the north, south, east, and west. The surrounding zoning to the north, south, and west is AR, and to the east is C2. The subject site consists of a mobile/manufactured home and accessory structures in approximately 3.86 acres. The applicant proposes to develop the property with a Dunkin' Donuts and other commercial uses in conformance with the C2 standards. Access to the property is from February Lane, a county-maintained local road with approximately 70 feet of right-of-way, and Somboro Drive, a privately maintained ingress-egress easement. And the subject site has a future land use classification of COM commercial. And this is coming with a recommendation for approval from PDD staff. I'm
Okay.
here if you have any questions.
All right, is there anybody that's here to speak on this one? Okay. You please come forward, and is the applicant present? Excuse me one
Well,
second.
you need to let the applicant make the presentation
That's
first.
what I was just asking. Is the applicant on WebEx?
The applicant is right behind us,
Oh.
Shelley Johnson.
Okay, I need to let the applicant speak first.
We can't hear you, so I hope you can hear us.
I need to let the applicant come up and speak, and then you can come speak. The applicant will speak first, and then you,
Oh,
okay? So if you just want to sit there in the front row. Shelley, want to come up?
I represent myself. I apologize.
Oh.
It was my.
They're trying to confuse me today. It's not taking a lot, so.
Do you want to represent this one, Joe?
Okay, so the applicant is not present.
The applicant is virtually present. It's Todd Pressman who's for this one.
Okay, does he want to speak? Todd, are you with us?
Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
I can see you.
You can't see me.
I didn't say that.
Mr. Chairman and board members, Todd Pressman, 202nd Avenue South.
Number 451, St. Petersburg. I'll say a number of things. First of all, the Board of County Commissioners just very recently approved a future land use amendment to commercial on October 26th for this site specifically. Before that, the staff report tells you that there were similar zonings approved in the surrounding area, one on May 22nd of 2001 and 2002. Both were from agricultural to C2. We are abutting C2, and we are located virtually on County Line Road, right at the Veterans Expressway, which is obviously a very busy corner. Across the street, Hernando is a very intensive shopping center. So in terms of location, in terms of the direction of the Board of County Commissioners, in terms of the adjoining zoning, this site has been very firmly, in our opinion, directed to be commercial. We had no opposition that, or anyone of concerns that raised their opinions or thoughts during the future land use process. I'm happy to hear the comments of the citizen who's there today. All the transportation reports have been read fine or presented fine. So we're happy to make any other comments or respond to concerns by the citizens. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you.
Staff report, staff recommendation for support.
All right, thank you very much. We'll reserve the rest of your time for a response. So you want to come forward now? Can you hear us? Can you hear me? Okay. That's sort of what my wife always says.
Beg your pardon?
That's what my wife tells me. She can't hear me very well.
Want me to come up there?
Whatever it takes.
I have no opposition to it being changed from residential to agriculture to business. The only problem I have is I have a private road, Somboro Drive, and I need to know what they plan on doing to keep our privacy on Somboro Drive, because it, cuts through two sets of property there. And, we like our quiet back there, but we would like our road to be kept with no traffic from the business. So as long as they can meet with us or whatever they need to do to keep us private, we would appreciate that.
Ma'am,
Okay.
Did you give your name and
I
address?
was just
for
going to
the-
ask that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for the record, we need your name and your address.
Oh, my name is Carol Gant, G-A-N-T. I live at 18820 Somboro Drive. They call it Spring Hill, and some people call it Brooksville.
Okay.
But we are in Pasco County there, right behind where the property is. This was a property given to all of us by our mother and dad, and they would enjoy the donuts too.
Okay, that's a good thing. Do we have a map of that area? Can we put it up so everybody can see exactly what we're talking about?
I have a map.
Just give us just a second.
Okay, if you could just point it out, Denise, that would be very helpful.
Can you close that out so that I can just see this movie through? So here's, so Somboro Drive is right in between. So right, yeah, Patty's putting her cursor on.
And is that a daycare there, or what did I see that was next door?
Yes, it's a daycare.
Okay.
Well,
I have a better map.
where's the subject property? Right on the corner there?
To the east, to the west of Somboro Drive, so that parcel, and then the parcel to the west of that. Those two parcels.
Oh, okay. How big are those?
So altogether, it's 3.86 acres.
Okay.
And ma'am, your property is located directly to the south?
That spot right there.
Directly to the east, right?
No, yeah, right there.
Or south? Okay.
South, yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
I think that's the neighbors. Want me to get the map?
That's Gant's. Yeah, that was it. Gant's.
Yeah, that's good. Okay.
So can I ask staff or the applicant a question? Is the applicant actually going to be using Somboro Drive or just February Lane for access?
Yeah, if you could zoom in there, that'd be helpful.
I think it might be best if the applicant addresses that comment. I believe that they were only going to be using a portion of Somboro Lane, but wouldn't be using the full length of it.
Okay, now where's Somboro?
That's that whole paved road right there.
That's straight, that one goes perpendicular, okay. Okay,
And so the,
so the Somboro goes to, right to your home?
Yes, sir.
I got you.
and then,
Actually, Somboro Drive is privately owned by us. We pay the taxes on it. It is a private road. That's why we're here, is because they want to use our private road for a big business, and Dunkin'
All right,
Donuts. We don't
so-
want 1,000 cars.
You need to
going
speak
through
in the
our
microphone, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so,
You need to speak in the microphone.
My name is Cheryl Gant, and I live at 18820 Somboro Drive.
Uh-huh.
And I grew up there with my grandparents on that property. So
Right.
yes, we've been there a long time, 60 years.
can I ask you a question though? Are you saying that the applicant does not have the right to use that road?
Right. That is our private road. My mom writes the tax for it
Well,
each year. We try to
just
get the
because road
county
is
to buy
private-
it.
Just because the road is private doesn't mean that they don't have a private right to use it. Are you 100% positive they don't have the right to use that easement?
I can show you a copy of the check that my mom writes just for that road that she pays the taxes on just for that
Just because you
road.
pay taxes on it doesn't mean somebody else doesn't have the right to use it. It depends on the language of the easement.
Does it have a
Well,
separate parcel
that's
ID?
just it. See, we have gopher turtles on that property. We have turkeys that come on this property. I
Okay,
took
let me ask
pictures
the
of them
question
this
another
week.
way. Is there a home on that parcel now?
Yes,
Does that homeowner have the right to use that road, Somboro Drive?
yes.
So why are you saying the Dunkin' Donuts would not?
Because one person coming onto that property is different than having a business with multiple vehicles
Is there
coming all
something in
day
the
and all
easement, is
night.
there something in their easement that limits it to ingress and egress for only that homeowner?
We knew the homeowner. My grandparents sold the property to that homeowner.
I'm not
and we let
asking
them
you
use
whether you
it.
knew them, I'm asking, is there anything in the easement for Somboro Drive that limits use to just that homeowner?
Not to just that homeowner, no.
Or that limits it to being residential?
I don't know what the street is, zoned as.
This isn't a zoning question, you're telling me that Dunkin' Donuts does not have the right to use that road. I'm asking you, is there anything in your private easement that limits the use of that road to residential?
I don't know.
Do you have a
That's what I'm
copy,
telling
do you have
you.
a copy of the easement? Do you have a copy of whatever document that?
Do we have copies of the easement?
Would that have a
What we
separate
wanted
parcel
them
ID?
to do was not use our road and build a block wall to cover their property and go.
Didn't intend to use Somboro Drive because if they're not going to use Somboro Drive, then this is irrelevant.
Right, but they just said that they were going to use it. They even sent a letter to my parents asking to buy it. So, I mean, this is an issue, and we don't want to
Okay,
get rid of
let
our
me-
rights to our road.
Okay, finish your comments and then I'll ask the applicant. I'll quote this question. Go ahead. Finish whatever comments you have. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, the comment is just that we would like the privacy of it, our road not being used for a commercial property, and that if, we would also like some kind of noise barrier, some kind of barrier, because we do have wildlife, like I say. We've got gopher turtles on that property. I've got pictures on my phone on that property, so, I mean, we don't want to stop Dunkin' Donuts from coming. We just want them not to use our road, and we got cut off. We had property, we had to give to the county or sell to the county to put that February lane in, because Somboro Drive went straight to County Line Road. So we lost property that way. So we just would like a barrier of some sort, and for them not to use our road.
Okay, so are you done with your comments, or I'm sorry?
Pardon me?
Did you have any more comments?
No, I guess that's it.
I just have a question. Does the daycare use that road?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
And if that's an issue, then that's fine. They can go and put a road in their front of their place.
I just
Yeah.
want to know if they're currently
Yeah,
using
you
it.
see, it just wasn't an issue because when my parents sold that property, they sold it to a church, and we knew that there was only going to be people there on Sunday mornings. So it wasn't a big deal. Well, then the church sold it. And this is the issue we're having. The people are selling it to more businesses and stuff, and all this traffic is coming in. And it's like, okay, our wildlife is leaving us, you know, and we're getting all this noise coming in. And, you know, not only from the parkway, but across the street from County Line, there's acres that have just been cleared. They're putting in new subdivisions there. So, yeah, it's a great spot for Duncan, but we just want some privacy in between. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
So, is there anybody else speaking? Because I want to ask the applicant a question.
Anybody else to speak? Okay, hearing none. We go back to the applicant. You're still with us?
Mr. Pressman?
Okay, there we go. That cleared me. I could tell you, Mr. Chairman and board members, that we do a declaration of easement for April 13th, 1979, signed by the Somboros, that state a common easement for ingress and egress and road right-of-way purposes provide access to the parcels as indicated here. That's been submitted to the county.
Do you have a copy of this easement,
sir.
declaration of easement?
Yes, sir.
Pardon me?
Yes, sir.
Can you put it up on the screen or do something so, or is it in our packet
Share.
somewhere?
Mr. Goldstein, what's your email address, sir?
It's dgoldstein@pascocountyfl.net.
Repeat the first part, please.
DGOLDSTEIN
At Pasco
at pascocountyfl.net.
And then I'll try and pull it up.
Laura.
It's in the packet. So can I ask the prior speaker, is she related to Milan Somboro and Violet Somboro? Who are they? Okay, it appears that in 1979, your parents, or grandparents, provided a easement for ingress and egress and road right-of-way purposes for these parcels. I don't see anything that restricts the use to any particular use. It's a pretty...
Yeah, they gave the property to their 3 daughters, so they gave easement to their 3 daughters. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, my grandparents gave the
You
property,
need to say your
divided
name
it
again,
into
I'm
4.
sorry.
Oh, Cheryl Gant.
Okay.
I guess my question is if it was your parents' or grandparents' intent to restrict the use of that property to residential or to restrict the access to residential, they didn't put it in the easement. I mean, their easement just says an easement for ingress and egress and road right-of-way purposes to provide access to these parcels. It doesn't say anything about it being for residential purposes or there's no restriction on it whatsoever, just an easement.
Yeah, like I say, they had all the acreage there, and then they divided it 4 ways. 1 part for my grandparents, and then 3 parts for
I know,
each of
but
their daughters.
you got to the podium and you said you don't think they have the right to use this road.
Well, that's because I believe since it was Somboro Drive, and my mom gets a bill every year just for that road, and they tried, after my
So I
grandmother
think
died, they tried
there's
to
a
give it
common
back to the
misperception
county.
that when people pay taxes on something,
Mhm.
that they have full ownership of it. You're probably being taxed on it because you're the fee owner of it. Meaning but there's somebody else that has an easement over it. That's what this declaration of easement is. It's your parents or grandparents gave the applicant an easement to use the property. It's not, and it doesn't appear to have any restrictions on it whatsoever.
Right, they would have never sold to Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay, but
They sold to another
I
person.
understand that, but I don't know who their lawyer was back then.
They didn't, I'm sure they didn't have one.
Okay, but they didn't do anything to restrict it. It's just an easement. There's no, I mean, they could have said this easement's for residential purposes or,
The only thing I have here is a copy of the survey, and it has on here that private ownership, 20-foot access, estimated, on page 732.
I think what you're not understanding is, if you can picture it as a layer, there's a layer on the bottom, and that layer is the property that you own. And on top of that property that you own, there's another layer called an easement. And that easement can be shared by more than the person who owns the property. So you're getting a bill for the property, but you're not getting a bill for the easement. You're getting a bill because you own the property, but the property is encumbered by an easement.
but.
So
just
why
so I
are
know-
we the only ones paying for it then? Why aren't the people?
Because you own the property.
Now, you might have an argument that they should be contributing to the maintenance of the road.
Yeah, they don't maintain it, because it's not cut down by the county, nothing, it's.
I'm not saying the county maintain it. I'm saying you might have an argument that Dunkin' Donuts should have to help you maintain it. But I don't think you can deny them the right to use it because they have an easement to use it. But you certainly could argue that they should have to help you maintain the road.
Well, definitely, if they're gonna have, Dunkin' Donuts has got a line all the time, so if they're gonna have all that traffic going through and driving on our.
But that's really an issue between you, it's a private issue between you and Dunkin' Donuts about, because the county doesn't own this road. That much is clear, right, staff? We have no ownership of this road.
That's correct.
So it's a private road, but it appears Dunkin' Donuts or whoever this owner of this parcel has the right to use it too. But you have the right to try to get them to help you maintain it. I don't think you can deny them the right to use it, but you have the right to, you can certainly ask them to help you maintain it. Maybe Mr. Pressman will offer to help maintain it. I don't know. Mr. Pressman, do you want to address the maintenance issue with Somboro?
That's up to the property owner at the moment, I'm just saying there's only certain.
I'm sure there's something that can be discussed in the future.
How much of Somboro is Dunkin' Donuts planning to use?
I was going to add, they're not using all of Somboro, they're only using part of it to access the property for the uses. So it won't go all the way through.
Well, is it safe to assume that Dunkin' Donuts will at least maintain the portion they're using?
I can't answer at the moment, I'm just handling the zoning cog, but they're very reasonable people, very reasonable business people. I'm sure there's something to be discussed, and we can touch base with the Gants and have a discussion on that, sir.
Well, I mean, it's really up to the planning commission on what you all want to do. I mean, you in theory could continue this until you figure out who's going to be maintaining Somboro Drive. Or you could just move it forward to the Board of County Commissioners and let them try to work this out before it gets to the board. It's totally up to the planning commission.
Well,
It doesn't sound like there's an issue about, even the residents don't seem to be arguing that it's an incompatible use.
Mm-hmm.
Their issue is, I think, the use of Somboro Drive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
which isn't really a zoning issue. It's an access issue, but it's not a zoning issue.
When would this go to the BCC?
Liam, when is this scheduled to go before the board?
It's scheduled to go to the BCC on June 7th.
So, Liam, let me ask you a question. The portion, since they're using part of Somboro Drive for access, is it a standard road? Is it meet county standards? Or would we make them improve it to county standards, the part that they're using for access?
It's like there's no lines on the road to even show the middle of the road. You know, so if there's gonna be that much
Well,
traffic, they need left.
I guess
and
what I'm
right.
asking is, the part that does affect the county is typically if a commercial business is accessing a road, we would make them improve it to county standards of some kind. So, do we know if that's going to occur? Let me let Liam, please.
Sorry, we have Stacy Burgess is on who can answer that question.
Okay.
Stacy, you with us? Stacy? Stacy?
Hello, how are you?
Okay.
Can you hear,
Do
can you
you
hear
know
me?
the question?
Yes.
Yes. You're familiar with the question?
Yes, this is Stacy Burgess with Planning and Development Department. And that roadway is in pretty good condition. I took a look at it. I believe it's about lane width, maybe 11 feet. So about 22 feet wide. And the pavement is in good condition.
So does it meet county substandard road requirements?
Yes, our minimum standards, yes.
Okay, well, then it doesn't sound like they would need to make improvements to it.
So they're going to be required to maintain it?
Well,
Or is that a county issue?
that's a private issue, really. The county doesn't own this road. There's multiple owners or people that have the right to use it. It's really among those private property owners to determine who's supposed to be maintaining that road. But it would be difficult for the county to force somebody to maintain it because there's multiple people that have the right to use it.
Right.
And that's where the problem lies too. If they start using and tearing up our road, then they're gonna come to us as the owners and say, hey, you have to fix your road. Why?
I mean,
You know,
I
unless
gotta be honest with you, your parents probably, when they conveyed this land and road and easement, should have had something in there about who's gonna be responsible for maintaining the road. I mean, I guess they weren't represented by a lawyer, it appears, but the easement that was granted is, no offense, one of the worst easements I've ever seen drafted. I mean, there's no detail in it whatsoever. It just says ingress easement. There's nothing about who has to maintain it. There's nothing about that restricts the use. So everything you're telling me that your parents intended is not appearing in the document. That's your problem. Now, after the fact, you might be able to negotiate some agreement among all the property owners there about who's gonna maintain this road. But that's something that's really between all the private property owners.
Yeah, because it's not a county road.
It's not a county
See,
road.
and that just makes me nervous too, because if people are using our road and we're the owners of the road, what if they have an accident on our
Well,
road or?
Let
there's-
me just say, I agree with every one of your concerns, but this really should have been addressed in the easement that was granted to that property. What you should have said is, they're responsible for maintenance of it. It should have said they have to indemnify you for use of the easement. All that language should have been in this easement, and it wasn't.
No.
By the way, this is why people hire lawyers to do transactions like this.
And like you say, this was back in, back in 79, but they had this property since the early 60s.
Just so we're clear, lawyers existed in 1979.
But back then, you had your property and you put your name on it and you named the road after you, and that's what they did with Somboro Lane and.
Okay, all I'm telling you is that if your parents had the intent to restrict the use of this road, or to make this property owner contribute towards the maintenance, or indemnify you for the use of it, or any of those things, it does not appear in the actual document. In my opinion, your parents should have hired a lawyer and documented this properly. but they apparently didn't. So now you're gonna have to, after the fact, figure out if you can reach some agreement with Dunkin' Donuts and all the other property owners about who's gonna maintain this road. Hopefully you can meet with Mr. Pressman, maybe before this goes to the board, and reach some agreement on the use of this road. Maybe he will agree to help maintain it. Maybe he'll agree to indemnify you for their use of it. I don't know, but you're in a very weak negotiating position now because this is all occurring after you've already given them an easement.
After we already gave them an easement, Grandma and Granddad gave them the easement already, you know. And being that they was all family living, they didn't think to put anything else about businesses couldn't be back there or whatever, you know, because it
Excuse
was
me.
all family living
Go ahead,
there.
we have a question up here.
And I mean, be that, I understand that, David, be that as it may, but, okay, so let's say Duncan comes in and needs to improve that, pave it, whatever they need to do to use it, but, I mean, you can't, even if you have an easement, can you just go do that without some kind of permission to, or?
I mean,
or
the general case law is that you have the right to make improvements to your easement, but this is really a private dispute between those. I don't want to give either one of them an opinion about this issue because, again, it's a poorly drafted easement.
No, I understand.
But I can't, I
Probably,
mean.
people never contemplated that something else would be there.
Right.
No,
so-
definitely not.
You know,
But I was just clarifying, and for my own personal, you know, that somebody
the
wanted to
the
improve an
county's
easement.
issue would be whether this road is, they're using a road that is substandard.
Yeah,
But staff just told me the road is standard. So there's no improvements required to it.
gotcha.
So they could access it as is. Now, the issue of maintenance
Yeah.
is totally a private issue.
Yeah.
It's not a public road.
Now, like she says, in the front part where that mobile home is, that they just bought that property, where the Dunkin' Donuts is, yeah, there's enough road for two cars to go like, you know, beside each other, but there's no markings on the road. Once you get to halfway to their property, from going from the north to the south, then it comes down to a single lane, well, the thing's gone, but it comes down to a single lane. So to say it's a maintained property, well, that's a very short distance for that double driveway there.
I understand all your concerns. The problem is that this board is supposed to be deciding is it compatible use and does it have adequate access? It's gonna be hard to argue it's not a compatible use because it's a COM land use. That's gonna be hard to argue that it's not compatible with COM. And it appears you're not even objecting to the use, it's the road.
It's the road, right.
So.
It just
the
makes me
issue with
want to
the road
put a
is
gate on the end of my road and say nobody use it.
Is that road in a good condition, good enough condition for them to use it for this commercial access? Staff is telling me that it is. That it meets our county standards, this road. So we could deny, this board could deny a rezoning if it's a parcel that has inadequate access. But staff is saying that it has adequate access. So there's very little that this body can do to help you to resolve something that honestly your parents and grandparents should have done themselves. I'm not trying to be mean, but
No, and like you saw where the daycare was, that's all that road goes to. So like I say, after that, the rest of the road is a single thing, but yet they still want that
But
property.
apparently the part they're using for access, staff is telling me that it meets our standards.
That part is wider, right.
So
from
they're
coming
saying
off
it
of
meets
Bear-
county standards, so we can't deny them, we can't say it's a substandard access or a bad access if it meets county standards.
Okay. And there's nothing you can do about, like, the noise barrier and all that? They can't put anything in there to...
Wooden fence.
Well, okay, so are you talking about like buffering, additional buffering?
Right, something to buffer.
If that is a legitimate issue for planning commission to consider, if they think there's inadequate buffering, and then the applicant would have to explain why they think the buffering is adequate. So if your concern is buffering, that is a legitimate issue that this body can address.
I would appreciate that, yeah. Like I say, Dunkin' Donuts always has a line. they're open very early to very late,
So we probably need to let the applicant address that concern, see what the response is.
Okay, so we're going to let the applicant address the buffering concern, and then we'll talk about that. And, but to your point about the road narrowing down, it appears to me that the easement is the same width all the way back, even though you may not have put a road on that portion of it, it's still the same width.
Right.
Okay, so it's 22 feet all the way down.
That's what I was trying to let you know, that, no, this is not a nice road going all the way back. This is something small coming into our property.
Right, more like a driveway, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we don't want people driving down there, because if we don't stop Dunkin' Donuts from coming down that road, people are gonna drive straight down into our property.
They may not even need to come back that far, so
There's plenty of capacity.
all they really need is for access to their
We can ask
property,
them,
so.
but I don't think they're gonna say there's a heck
They
of a
might come in 50 feet and turn in, to their property. So let's see what Mr. Pressman has to say, and we can talk about the buffering. Okay?
Very
So,
good, thank you.
Have a seat. Thank you very much. Any other comment before we start? Okay.
Well,
So,
we'll go ahead and
Okay.
let President talk, and I've got some comments, yeah.
all right. The applicant, back on, please.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay.
Sound like you want to respond?
So you want to
quickly?
address the buffering?
Yes, I could tell you that the concept plans that have been laid out show retention in the rear. The site obviously slopes to the rear, so there's a retention pond that passed are in the rear area. We can also provide a 6-foot fence along the rear property line. So it'll provide a distance buffer and a structure buffer.
All right.
Can I
Go
ask a
ahead, David.
question?
Yeah.
Would that 6-foot fence exceed what our code requires? I don't know what our code normally requires as a buffer for commercial, this use of this type.
So the buffering requirements for that property would be a type A buffer, which is our lowest type buffer. It wouldn't require a 6-foot high fence. So having a 6-foot high fence would be going above what the buffer requirement would be.
So that would probably require a deed restriction of some kind if we're exceeding the code. Otherwise, it's not really enforceable. So, Mr. Pressman, would you be willing to impose a deed restriction with that requirement?
Yes, that would be for just along the rear property line.
Did you want to add something, Mr. Tipton?
So the deed restriction would be, the 6-foot high fence would be in addition to the type A buffer.
I think that's what they're committing to, yes.
So is the type A buffer, does that include foliage of some kind?
Yes, Brad Tippin, Planning and Development. Type A buffer does include trees and shrubs as well, but it's a lower level. The 6-foot fence, in addition to that, will raise that physical buffer between the two.
Okay.
But it should be both. We tend to do both when we
Okay.
do something like this.
So, okay, all right, did you understand that?
Yes, they're gonna put a fence along the back of it.
6-foot fence and a vegetative buffer.
So, Mr. Pressman, just so we're clear, we're talking about an opaque fence?
Yes, sir.
Is that probably PVC? Is that what you're proposing?
PVC or a nice wood fence of some opaque nature, sure.
Staff recommends something on that
Wood
issue?
cannot be used.
We do not use wood in Pasco, so yes, but as long as the fence would comply with our code elements related to that, it needs to be opaque. And generally, more often than not, people go with a PVC style, or they can use a brick wall or masonry wall of some sort as well. It's obviously more expensive, but it does need to be opaque.
So we would not allow it to be?
And we do not allow wood, correct.
Is that clear, Mr. Pressman?
Understood, so an open fence would be fine.
Okay. All right.
So are you going with the type A or B buffering? Because,
Type A plus the fence.
okay, because B kept popping up all the time, okay.
Okay, so everybody knows what we're talking about now, right? Okay.
So I do encourage you to meet with the applicant between now and the time this gets to the board and see if you can reach some agreement with them about the maintenance of this road. But there really needs to be a private agreement between you and the property owner.
Okay?
So staff, can you give these ladies the contact information for the applicant, please?
Okay.
I'll put a call to him, please, if I make a request.
My concern would be, and David brought up the point about the easement, the fact that their grandparents did not have, for whatever reason, I would assume it's a certain degree of sophistication in their life, that they never obtained an attorney. And therefore, whoever drafted this, your grandparents probably assuming, on my assumption on my part, that they thought the author of the easement was a person who had enough knowledge how to draft the easement. David, being a trained attorney, knows that, in his opinion, this is not the best easement he's ever read. The Dunkin' Donuts folks are being represented by an attorney.
Actually, Mr. Pressman is not an attorney.
I'm not an attorney, for the record.
Okay, thank you. I thought you were.
No problem.
But regardless, he didn't represent them in 1979.
No, he did not.
When they acquired this property.
What I'm trying to do is move forward today, that these folks are going to meet with Dunkin' Donuts representative, and I just hope that they have the ability to, the awareness when you deal with the gentleman, because he's representing Dunkin' Donuts. And I hope it will work out to your benefit. I personally would like to see it go to a B type of buffering, because I think that would have been better for you all, but that's not my decision.
Well, to be clear, it's a deed restriction, so the applicant has to offer, it's not something you can impose, the applicant has to offer up something.
Well,
What I heard the applicant offer was a type A with a opaque fence, but if he's willing to offer a type B, that's up to the applicant.
no. I would encourage.
I believe that a 6-foot fence is the best buffer.
For noise, along with the type A. And to digress, just to clear the record, because the name Dunkin' Donuts has been bounded about, I actually represent the property owner who has some Dunkin' Donuts facilities. So I just wanted to clear that record.
Let me ask one more.
I'm not representing Dunkin' Donuts directly.
I haven't seen the site plans for this, but is this the type of Dunkin' Donuts where you walk in donuts? Or is this going to be the Dunkin' Donuts where you not only walk in, but drive through? But will they sell other products, like some of them near my neighborhood sell many products in their store? It is almost a walk-in Quick Mart type of facility. So that's a concern I have, is the amount of traffic. If you look at that area, the traffic is going to be a concern in that area. You go a side road that they will pull off of the main road, and then they pull into this particular road that we've been talking about. And it will, I know hopefully there'll be a traffic study done at some point in time. We haven't seen one, but traffic could be a concern.
Actually, I think they did do a traffic study.
They did.
Yes, we've worked long and hard.
County, we've provided a number of different traffic reports and worked with Stacy Burgess, and the result is that they've all been fine.
So just so we're clear, Ms. Burgess, if you're still on, could you just summarize for the Planning Commission the results of the traffic timing and phasing analysis?
Yes, for the timing and phasing analysis, we looked at the segment, and the segment does meet capacity, as well as the intersections. And the segment that we were looking at was the county line roadway.
Are you aware of any capacity issues on February Lane or Somboro Drive?
We did not ask for that, but I'm not aware of any on those lanes because they're local.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Anybody? All right. Then I'd like to hear a motion, please.
I'll make the motion to approve. with the condition of the buffering.
Okay? So we have a motion.
To be clear, just to be super clear, it's a
Type A.
applicant, no, it's an applicant offer deed restriction.
Right.
Not a condition. Just one, because you technically can't condition a utility rezone.
All right, what he said.
Is what I said.
But it sounds like the offer was for a type A buffer with a 6-foot opaque fence that is not wood.
Right.
Fence or wall that is not wood.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second it. I'm hesitant on the maintenance issue, but I will second it with the intention that Mr. Pressman will work with the residents.
Okay. I share that concern. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion of the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, the motion carries.
Liam Devine, Planning and Development. This is item PC 6, PDD 22-7616, in the name of Eric Dominich. It is a zoning amendment from AR Agricultural Residential District and R1MH, Single Family Mobile Home District, to a RMH Mobile Home District. The subject site is located on the southwest corner of the intersection of Tucker Road and Michelle Lane. This is a look at the aerial view. The surrounding future land use to the north, south, east, and west is Res 9. The surrounding zoning to the north and east is AR, RMH, R1MH, and to the south and west is AR. The subject site is currently undeveloped on approximately 15.22 acres. The applicant is proposing to develop the property with a mobile home subdivision in conformance with the RMH zoning district standards. Access to the property is from Tucker Lane, a county-maintained local road with approximately 40 feet of right-of-way, and abuts Michelle Lane, a privately maintained local road with approximately 30 feet of right-of-way. The surrounding area is characterized by residential development, mobile home subdivisions, and travel trailer/recreational vehicle parks, and the future land use is Res 9 for the subject site. And this is coming with a recommendation for approval from PDD staff. I'm here if you have any questions.
All right, any questions?
Is the primary access to the from Tucker Road land?
That is correct.
Okay, because it's not clear on the conceptual plan.
Oh, there was a correction. I do apologize. You were all sent yesterday a revised agenda memo, and that was also sent to the clerk's office. That correction was for finding of fact number 15. Would you like me to read? Yep. Would you like me to read the whole finding of fact into record?
Should we?
I don't know if it's necessary, but.
I don't think you need to. You've already
Okay.
passed it out.
Yep.
Okay.
They're aware of it.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions for Liam?
I have a question. Number 2 talks about Michelle Lane adjacent to the site will not be connected to. I assume that just means it's not going to be connected to this development. Is that what that means?
I'm sorry, are you talking about the narrative from the applicant from?
Yes.
So I would let the applicant and
Okay.
their team to answer that question because that narrative is coming from the applicant.
Okay.
Okay, so is the applicant present? Shelley, are you sure this is yours?
Sorry about that. Shelley Johnson, 6400 Madison Street, and I have been sworn. I'll reserve time. I'm happy to answer any questions. My understanding is that the access is on Tucker Road and that there's going to be improvements made to Tucker Road out to Autumn Palm Drive, I believe is the name of the other road, access road, so.
But there is no access from Michelle, is that correct?
I don't believe there's an access proposed at this time. I don't think there's enough units. It hasn't gone through site plan review that I'm aware of or anything, hasn't been engineered yet, but my understanding is it's going to be on Tucker Road.
Okay.
So, but we're
Okay.
here to answer any questions.
Okay, is there anyone here to object? Yeah, I think I see somebody way in the back there. That's you.
Oh, sorry. We're not really here to object, just kind of ask some questions, I guess. My name is Sophia Drew, 3752 Michelle Lane. I'm here with my mother on behalf of her. So the only real issue that we have is drainage. Over the past 20-something years that we've been on the property, drainage water from Tucker drains directly into Michelle Lane and floods the road. That road is not up to standard by any means. We can barely get down it ourselves. So we were wondering if they were going to be intending to use that road, and if that was the case, what was their plan for drainage for the extra water that's going to be coming in for Michelle Lane, and if they were going to put up a fence to border off the area.
Okay. Any other questions about it?
My mama wanted to know if it was going to be a multi-family type place where you could go, like if there was going to be any age restrictions on the park.
Okay, in other words, it was a senior park.
Correct.
Okay. All right, we'll see if we can get those answered for you, and you did a great job.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Ms. Shelley?
Yes, Tucker Road, like I said, they've agreed it's substandard, so that's going to be improved out to Autumn Palm Lane, so that'll be, and then the drainage and all that'll be dealt with, when they actually design the road and do the improvement to it, so. But that's all stuff that they address in the site plan. As far as landscape buffering, my understanding is it's going to be in accordance with the code, which I'm assuming is a type A, because it's, residential against residential, so, which is a 10-foot buffer.
Okay, did anybody have a question?
Well, there was also a question about whether it was going to be deed restricted for retirement.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. No, it is not. There's no plan right now to have an age restriction on it. It's just going to be a mobile home subdivision.
Okay, will they own the lots, or are they going to rent the lots?
He's going to own them, he said.
Okay.
The owner is here, so.
Very good. Thank you. All right, any other questions from up here?
I guess,
Sophia Drew, 3752 Michelle Lane. Thank you so much for answering the questions. The only other thing we wanted to point out was that if they were going to be homes that, and it says here approximately 90 homes, that's going to include maybe possibly 90 families, and we just wanted to make sure the county was keeping in mind that, we are, which you all know, blowing up, and our schools, there's only one high school in Zephyr Hills, there's only like 2 elementary schools, so it would be a concern that our schools are even going to be more overfilled as a result of even a small neighborhood like this one. So
We have Mr. Williams here representing the schools, so he can speak to that for you.
Sure. So currently Zephyr Hills High does have capacity. We added a bunch of capacity when we remodeled that school. Certainly our elementary schools in that area are either a little bit under capacity or at capacity, but certainly with not only this project but other projects, we're continually to monitor that and build additional schools as we need to. We do own land east of Zephyr Hills?
Yes.
For a future school?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen the signs, but we didn't know if it was ever going to be developed.
And
or is that still?
we're opening a new K-8 in a couple of years in Wesley Chapel that could have some impact in this area, so that's where we are. But thank you, that is
Thank you so much.
something we monitor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, my other question for the applicant is Chris's question about Michelle Lane. It's not clear, it's adjacent to the site, will not be connected to. So assuming there's no, by that, there's no access to or from Michelle Lane to the development, just to confirm that with the applicant. So.
Wait, can you get up and speak for the record, please?
Yes, Shelley Johnson again, 6400 Madison Street. I have been sworn there's no access to Michelle Lane. It's only on Tucker, as I indicated. Yep.
Thank you. All right, does that answer everybody's questions? If so, we'll hear a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion of the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right, motion carries.
have the PowerPoint for me. Good afternoon, Planning Commission. Will Poon, Senior Engineer in Current Planning. PC item 7. Oh, thank you. Technology. Agenda item PC 7. This is PDD 22-CU18, Conditional Use 18. It's a land excavation operating permit for an additional 100,000 cubic yards for an existing MPUD. The location of the site is just east of River Glen Boulevard, approximately 3,800 feet north of the intersection of State Road 54 and River Glen Boulevard. As I said earlier, conditional use petition CU 22-18 by Scitex NR Holdings LLC. Previously, it was permitted for 200,000 cubic yards. We're just proposing an additional 100 cubic yards for this petition. This is a location map of the areas of excavation. There are floodplain compensation bonds. There's the future land use, surrounding areas, zoning, area there. And then the haul route, using some of the existing from the previous approval along River Glen and going to the north in the area where they will have future approved permitted construction. Any questions you may have, I'll be happy to answer. We recommend recommendations for approval from PDD staff.
Okay, any questions for Will?
I do.
Larry?
So did you say those are going to be floodplain compensation areas? Okay.
Yeah.
And then my other question is, my concern there is obviously that's in close proximity to New River Elementary. The Hall Road goes right in the back. And I see that, obviously they're required to keep the dust, but what exactly do they do? And that's my big concern, is just making sure that that dust is not even, along the Hall Road is not drifting over into our school.
Sure. Well, first of all, in the conditions of the road, they're supposed to be videotaping it.
Okay.
So we have a condition prior to any activity, and then they're supposed to restore it to existing conditions or better. And then they're supposed to, on a daily basis, watch for the fugitive dust.
Okay.
Watering is necessary and so forth. So that's supposed to be a daily thing that the contractors are supposed to be watching over and make sure it's maintained properly. So obviously, we occasionally do get complaints and so forth, and so we'll definitely address that and so forth if those arises.
Yeah, I see Ross back there. I assume they will, but again, it's just concerning, just a concern, not that I'm opposed to it, but, with kids, because the ball fields are out there, so, kids who might have asthma or stuff, we just want to make sure that that's under control.
Well, definitely, I'll take that back to the engineer record and make sure they're cognizant of that and make sure that's being addressed properly.
Right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions for Will? All right, is there anybody else here to speak? I don't see anyone. Silence is golden.
And the applicant is available on WebEx if you have any questions for the applicant.
Okay, do we have any questions for the applicant? I think Will answered them all. About that.
I move to approve PC 7.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will.
Commission members, before you adjourn, Denise Hernandez. So I wanted to answer a question that Mr. Hansel posed the last time we were here when I was presenting the item for an increase in building height from 35 feet, residential building height from 35 feet to 45 feet in residential districts, regarding whether the fire marshal's office had been spoken to on the matter. I did immediately reach out to the fire marshal's office, and the fire marshal, Fire Marshal Frum, and he stated that they had no objections at the time. Their life safety access should remain within the threshold at 45 feet, so that they were able to access buildings of that height. So I just wanted to answer that question for the Planning Commission LPA.
Thank you very much.
the item is going for first reading to the board in a couple of weeks. I do also want to mention another item, which is that I have noticed that many of the applicants' representatives are reaching out to the Planning Commission members at your personal or business emails. And maybe David will jump in as well, but I want to make sure that, and I will let them know myself, that I want to make sure that they're reaching out to you at your @pascocountyfl.net email, because if there's a public records request, or if there's any, we can pull all those records from our server, and it's very easy to do. Whereas if they're reaching out to your business address, it's a little bit more complicated. I will note it, I will note our regulars, you know, that you need to do that. And if anyone needs to have access to their @pascocountyfl.net email and they don't have the access, when we're done today, I'll send you an email with the information for our information technology department. They do a great job, and they will assist you with that, with resetting passwords or anything like that you may need.
Let me just add to what Denise said. The concern we have if you're not asking applicants to use your county email address is if, and you all are pretty good about forwarding the emails you get to your private ones, but number one, we don't know for sure that there might be one that was missed. And the problem is if we get a public records request for any emails related to a particular topic, if you're not routinely using your county email, then it's going to put more work on you to have to search through all your private emails in response to this public records request, or to turn over your computer. We're trying to keep people out of your private business, to be quite honest, and I don't think you want your private emails exposed to a county public records request. So it's better to keep them separate, and just, we noticed, because I still see some applicants emailing you all to your private email addresses, I probably need to remind them you have a county email address and that's what they should be using.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. Actually, I'm guilty as charged, you know, because I'm lazy to go for a different email address, I guess. But I'll try to do better in that regard. But I do need help getting access.
Yeah, and I'll get that over to you. I'll get you an email with all the information. And Alexis actually works for IT, and they're really fabulous. And look how fabulous she is. So you'll deal with someone who's just as fabulous as she is. So.
Wow, and, I don't know if that's possible, is it?
Yeah, well, that's true. And then just also for the record, when you go online and you look up Planning
Chris,
Commission members' emails.
Stop. Chris still has a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to clarify, so I've been.
Not
using
you, you're.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because
Yeah.
it's easy for somebody to do public records requests for
Yeah,
ours too.
that's right.
So, okay.
Yes.
Oh, you're going to brag about it, huh?
Yeah, if he's using the
Yeah.
school email address, that's.
Right, you're
different.
using the school board, yeah.
I just want to make
absolutely.
sure I wasn't.
Yeah.
They're subject to all the same public record
Yes,
requirements that
correct.
we are, so.
And I do want to mention that anyone who goes on the website and looks at the Planning Commission members' emails, it's at the @pascocountyfl.net. It doesn't have your private email address. So I know that these are just our usual suspects who deal with you and have dealt with you throughout the years, and we all know who they are, and I will reach out to them myself as well
Okay,
to make sure that they toe the
But it
line.
does require you to read your county emails, because otherwise they're gonna get mad that they emailed
Oh,
something.
David,
you
that's
didn't read.
wicked for you to say that.
And yes, it is gonna expose you.
And he's my neighbor, you know.
It is, you are gonna get some trash emails, or some of the emails that go to the entire county, but that just is what it is.
Okay. All right.
That's what I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're awesome. Okay. Your awesomeness, are we ready to dismiss?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right. Thank you. We're out of here.
depend on you to keep them healthy. Excess fertilizer, grass clippings, trash, oils, and pet waste wash into gutters and storm drains when it rains. Stormwater carries these pollutants directly into our lakes and rivers, creating an unhealthy environment for fish, waterfowl, and other aquatic animals. Storm drains are meant for clean rainwater. Most other